Well, hello everybody. How you doing? And hello on Facebook. How are you doing? Dave Fennoy here. It's a Wednesday at 6 p.m. So this is Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. And if you're here on Facebook or on the webinar at GoToWebinar, um, ask me your questions. Now, Fred is not with us tonight, so I'll have to find your questions there. Just type them in to the question area, and I will, pick them up. If you're watching on Facebook here, I'll try to catch both. Um, while you're getting your questions together, just want to say something about. I had a call today, friend of a friend, and a buddy of mine who's a comedian had mentioned me, and we've been doing some work together on a few things. And he says, "Oh, you're interested in voiceover? Get in touch with Dave Fennoy." So I had a conversation with her, and this wasn't, a paid thing. Generally, when somebody first gets in touch with me, I'm not charging them money. I'm happy to have a conversation or listen to their demo and give them my best advice. This woman was starting from scratch. Anybody here starting from scratch? It's kind of a daunting task these days. When I started, all you had to be was uh, good, get an agent, go audition, and book stuff. Now you got to train. You've got to get that demo put together. You've got to get that well, you don't necessarily need to get an agent if you're going to do the high profile work. You need an agent, but there's a lot of marketing yourself. There's a lot of getting your studio together. What mic do you use? What's going to work great on my voice? How do I edit? So forth and so on. There's a lot to learn, and it can seem like trying to eat an elephant. Um, and first I got to kill the thing, then I got to cook it, and uh, you know what? You got to take it one bite at a time. Don't be so overwhelmed by everything you have to do that you don't do anything. I talk to a lot of people that end up doing that. One step at a time. Take some classes. Get all the free stuff you can, like, ask Dave Fennoy, anything. And there are a number of other teachers that do the same kind of thing. It helps them and it helps you. It helps you in that I'm going to answer your questions honestly, and it helps them because if you like how they interact with you, you may take one of their classes. Um, but you got to get trained. You have to get demos. You have to have a studio of some kind these days, and you have to promote yourself and get work. And of course, there's a website. But you got to take it one bite at a time. I know of people who have jumped in, had great success early, and thought that that was going to continue and continue and continue, and maybe it doesn't. Uh, Save your money. Plan for ups and downs because they happen. And if you're going to do this, take it very seriously. All right. Let's see. Oh, am I not showing any questions? There's no polls. No or maybe they're in the chat. No, they're not in the chat. Where you guys online here? Where are the questions? Oh. Um. Okay. Well, let's go to Facebook and see what we've got here. Man, bring them on camera. No. Virginia Watson, what's going on? I feel like I'm at the same me I was at SBV. That's her agent, or what was her agent. But the only thing I have going right now is The Lion Guard on Disney. Uh, do I need to go back to class? You know, um, do you need to go back to class? Maybe. Uh, I don't think there's anything wrong with going back to class if you've been doing it for a while. I do. Even though I teach, I am happy when I get some time to go spend a little time with some other voiceover masters and freshen up what I do. Get an opinion from them on how is this sounding, how is this working, because our society is changing all the time, and we have to live and work in society as it is. There was a time if you could be a big announcer, you could have a great career. Well, those days are gone. We want to hear from someone that reminds us of us, someone that we believe, someone that, as we hear their voice, we get an idea of who they are, a picture. And we tend to be kind of a society that doesn't like experts anymore. Now, I'm not saying that's good or bad, but that's where the world is. So sometimes, rather than trying to listen back to your auditions and reads and go, gee, I'm just not quite feeling it, go to somebody you trust and have them help you find your way. All right, let's see if there's, wow, you guys on the webinar. Oh, you know what?
The
Because
broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
that's why I need Fred, because I hadn't started the broadcast yet. Silly me. Okay, people on the webinar. Dysfunctional Dave here, without the help of technical Fred, forgot to hit the one button, start the webinar. So there's going to be about 6 minutes on the tape after, which will be on my YouTube site that you can see for free. You're going to see me just talking and wondering where you are. And there you are. Well, let's see. That was Virginia. And what do you consider a good booking ratio? That's from Zoe. Um, well, if you're hitting 1 in 20, you're doing really well. If you get it down to 1 in 10, oh my God. You have to realize, one, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of products out there, thousands and thousands of e-learning, narrations, cartoons, video games. There's a lot of work, but there's also a lot of people auditioning. Um, Nobody books it all. All the people that we know, that we hear their voices all the time, it's usually because uh, they're dominating in one area or dominating with a particular client. The late great Don LaFontaine, you just knew his voice from all the movie trailers and TV promos. Joe Cipriano, you know his voice from promos. Bo Weaver, you know his voice from promos. There, but we're not hearing Joe or Bo on a lot of commercials. Not saying they're not doing any, but they've carved out a niche and they're killing it there. You have people who, unless you're listening to audio books, maybe you don't hear them. You have people that, unless you're playing video games, maybe you don't hear them, but masters at their craft. Personally, I like to do some of everything and have been fortunate enough to do that. Let's see, got another question here. How much faster do you currently record a VO job compared to when you first started? Does it take you half the time, 1/4 of the time? It probably takes me about the same amount of time. Um, I was always a pretty good reader, and I always kind of had a sense of what I thought it should sound like. Now, the real question to answer is, am I better at it now than I was then? Yes, I am, because um, I'm more comfortable with me, my voice. I have a better understanding of what this art is beyond, oh, I have a good voice and I'm going to make it sound good. I don't do that anymore. I try to connect, make these words mine. I might, deliver in the style that's being asked for, but it's a little different than that, my mindset than when I first started. Let's see. Who else do we have? Am I coming to the Middle East again? I hope to soon. Okay, hey Dave, and I'm talking about saving money. How much can add my career going to VO Atlanta? Now that's a question I can't actually answer. Like, oh, if you go to VO Atlanta, you're going to make $100,000 a year more next year. Um, but as I was talking to that student that I was talking with earlier, um, one of the things I suggested for her was that she go to the conventions. The two that I mentioned that are my favorite, and there's going to be some people listening that go to some other conventions. You're going to hate me. I'm not short selling them. I'm just upselling the two that are my favorite. That's voiceover with Joan and Rudy and VO Atlanta. Um, those two uh, conventions, as far as I've seen, have brought the most uh, information, gives you the most opportunity to interact with people that you want to talk to. So I suggest you go. I suggest you do it. You make connections that you haven't made. There are benefits from doing things to move your career forward that may not show up in countable dollars. Gee, I went to this, I spent this much money, and now 6 months later, I'm making this. We can't always attribute, oh, this convention's going to bring me this much more money. Uh, but when you are moving forward, when you are continuing trying to learn, when you are making new contacts, when you are staying engaged, uh, success is going to find its way to you, or you're going to find your way to success, I should say. Let's see. Oh boy, what guys on the webinar? Hey, come on! Don't just listen. You got some questions. I know you do. Well, let's go back to. Let's go back here. Honestly, oh, thank you. Honestly, I see you as one of the best, Dave. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. Oh, Rob Archer, newsman, is watching. Hey, Rob, haven't seen you in a while. Virginia Watson, I need help. You're gonna get it. I'm trying to become a good. I'm trying to become a good. Oh, it's tough on this little screen and my big fat fingers. Um, I'm trying to become a good voice actor. Oh, okay, but it's tough. Yeah, I just got to work. Got to stay in it. Question: how important is it to have different character voices in your repertoire? It may not be um, necessary at all. There are people out there that don't do character voices. I look at my buddy Joe Cipriano, um, who we don't think of Joe for character voices. We think of Joe for promos, and he makes a ton of money and has over the years, being Joe Cipriano, the promo voice. So different people come to this with different talents. Um, One of the things I love about being a voice and being on cartoons and video games is the number of extremely talented and diversely talented friends I have. That some do a million voices, some can imitate anybody that you see on television or politically. Um, some just know how to take the words off the page and touch your mind and heart. And if you can do that one thing, you can have a career in this business. Okay. Uh, huh. Who was the first character you ever voiced? Oh man, as a kid, doing cartoon voices, and I don't remember which one. Might have been Deputy Dog. Uh, hey, Gabriel Kunda, tough, a great talent there, young man. Uh, thank you, Virginia. That's sweet of you to say. Why, when I scroll up, does this want to say, do you want to finish this? No. Um, when submitting demo for animation, is it a good idea to have, uh, oh, stop that. Is it a good idea to, oh man, this is tough to do. Um, is it a good idea to have your commercial demo with you? No, you want your demos completely separate. The people who are looking for you for commercials, have no interest in TV promos, have no interest in animation, have no interest in video games, have no interest in narration. Your commercial demo is your commercial demo. Your video game demo is your video game demo. Your animation demo is your animation demo. I think you get the idea. I don't have to go through all of those. We're a society now with very, very, very limited attention span. And the people who do the hiring, sadly, often don't have much in the way of imagination. So the fact that your commercial reel has some interesting character voices on it doesn't mean they're going to spend the time to listen to it and go, oh, she'd be great on this cartoon that we're trying to do. No, that's not how they think. Okay. Tundra, I primarily want to do animation and video games. How necessary is it to move out to Los Angeles? It's becoming less and less necessary. I see posts by friends of mine and students, and I'm going to plug my phone in here because it may be dead. Let's get some. You can tell this is off the cuff, huh? I see friends of mine from around the country, some former students, some voiceover friends that I know, doing more and more video games from different places like Atlanta, from Dallas, from San Francisco, which actually was always a pretty good market for games. From oh God, no, I'm trying to. Oh, and there, we're back. My big fat fingers made the screen go to something else. But I see people from all over the country now being booked for video games here. And there are a lot of good studios around the country and up in Seattle and Portland and San Francisco and once again Dallas and Atlanta. So New York. So now, it's probably easier if you're here, but the technology is allowing us to go further and further and further, or be further away. Okay, anymore. Oh, let's see. I recall in a previous webinar you said that you should submit your auditions as soon as possible because the client receives so many auditions that they will not listen to all. Am I recalling correctly? Yeah, you are. Especially if you're one of the people doing the pay-to-play sites. A lot of times you need to get them in because they're going to cut you off. They're just going to cut off the number of auditions that go in, and you may be perfect for it, and not get the chance for uh, the client to hear you because we've had this up for 2 hours. We've got all the voices we're going to take because the client isn't going to listen to that many. Let's put the shoe on the other foot and see. Um, Imagine yourself as a casting person and say you're only getting auditions from LA and they're looking for middle-aged guys with a moderate to deep voice and a non-announcery read for some client. Well, you got at least 10 agencies that are going to be sending in 10 to 25 to 50 voices. Probably not 50 voices, but 20 voices. So we're looking at 200 voices you're listening to, all saying the same thing, and after a while, your ears go numb. You can't quite hear it. So a lot of times, if they find somebody they like in the first 10 or 20 people, well, the next 30 or 40 may not get a shot. And we're at a point where there are enough auditions that they're looking to hire somebody, but they're also looking for reasons not to continue to listen to you. If they don't like your slate, if you're just, hi, I'm Dave Fennoy. If your slate sounds dead and wrong and not in the vein of what it is they're looking for, that may eliminate you. If you haven't gotten what it is they're trying to say, whether it's a character or the point of the commercial, in the first 5 or 10 seconds, they're out of there. So yeah, yeah. Get your auditions in as early as possible. It's not as important with very good agents because they try to narrow down how many people they send. They're only going to send their best people, maybe a couple of new people, and see what happens. All right, let's pop over here. Andrew, really enjoy your work on games I play. My question is, I live in the Channel Islands and such would like to do voice acting for video games. Is there a way to work internationally if my studio space is acceptable? Yeah, I just mentioned that. More and more people are being able to work from anywhere on the planet. All right, let's see. Move that up. Crystal Brown, I was just watching you last night on Hidden Figures. In-person video capture audition for video game. Any pointers? Oh, treat it like an on-camera job. Uh, when they say video capture, generally, I think you're talking about mocap, motion capture, where you put on the little suit and you got all the dots on you, and then they put dots all over your face, and they shoot you in a big room. And think of it as an on-camera audition. Memorize the script. Don't have that paper in your hand. Memorize the script and be able to move so they can see it and play the character. All right. Do we have another one over here? No. Oh, it's Facebook. Okay. Can you show us your studio? Um, you know what? I'm gonna do that one time. I'm not actually set up. Well, one time I'll do this, and I'll just do it on my phone. I promise you, I'll do one that is just a Facebook thing. Right now, because I have this one camera in front of me on my computer, and my booth is over there. It wouldn't be fair to them if I take my phone and wander it around for you Facebook guys. But I will do it. I will do it. Not today, but I will do it. But I'll tell you a little bit about my studio. Um, I am in the basement of my house, and what I have is a 5x7 whisper room. Now, whisper rooms used to be the standard. There are Studio Bricks and some other companies that are making booths, sound booths. None of them are soundproof, but they do cut down on the amount of sound that comes in there. If the dogs are barking or there's leaf blowers right outside my door over there, I'm going to hear it. So they're not completely soundproof, but they do cut down about 50% of the sound. And after that, you have to treat them to get rid of sound bounce. I mean, there's a window there and a door with a window there. And the surfaces, although they are covered with cloth, are still kind of hard. So what I have in my booth is rock wool covered in burlap. There's a little bit of foam in there, but it's mostly rock wool covered in burlap. I bought the rock wool and covered and did the burlap covers myself. But I saw an article not too long ago that demonstrated that the very best sound absorption are towels. So you could go to the used store and you know make some frames and pack 4 or 5 towels in there. You can cover it with one towel or burlap or something else, and that'll be an effective way to eliminate the sound bounce. All right, and let's see. What do I think about pay-to-play sites? I'm not a fan. And in the second breath, I have to say that they're a feature of the world, and all the complaining I would do isn't going to make them go away. I think what we do have to do is hold them accountable if they're going to represent us. Your agent, if you have an agent in Los Angeles or San Francisco or wherever, they only make money when you make money. And they're going to make 10%. So when the phone rings, they pick it up and they say, "Oh, I'm looking for a voice, and I've got $150." Good chance they're going to say, "You know what? For what you're asking, that's not enough money. Let me give you more of an idea of what you should be paying. Let's get that up to about $250 or $300 or whatever, depending on what the job is." That's not what happens on the pay-to-play site. Somebody comes, they say, you as a voice actor are not their client. You are who they're making money off. Um, you are the, I mean, they're sucking you dry. You look at voices one, two, three, not voices one, two, three, although they're not wonderful. But voices.com, a client, they manage jobs. A client comes in and says, I got $5,000. Well, they don't put the job up as a $5,000 job. They ask you to bid on what this job would be. And if you, for some reason, bid on it $1,000 and you win the job and you get paid that, well, you're still going to pay them 10% because they're going to collect the money for you. They're going to pay you. You're going to pay them 10%, not to mention what you paid them to be listed on the site. And the rest of that money, they pocket. Your agent would not do that. The client says, I've got $5,000 to spend. Your agent sends out the audition. This is what it's paying, $5,000. They're going to get 10% of that, but they're not stealing from you, which I really think voices.com is. What they're doing is not against the law, but it is certainly not kosher. I mean, Sanka. Okay. Oh, hey, Kevin. Hey, Doug. Nicholas. Oh, it just tells me you're watching. Um, when did you realize you wanted to be an actor? I think sometime when I was a kid. I realized that more than an actor, I wanted to be a performer of some kind. Or I should say, I was a performer of some kind. I was performing at school. I was doing plays at Caramoo House in Cleveland, Ohio. If you meet a black actor from Cleveland, they probably went to Caramoo House. I was also playing music. I went to school originally as a theater major, then dropped out, went on the road as a musician for a while, went back to school in music, finished up, realized I wasn't going to grow up to be a rock and roll star after all, went into radio. I was a disc jockey for a little over a decade, discovered voiceover, and here we are. Let's see. Let's get a question over here. How do you learn voices of age groups? How do you learn voices of age groups different from yours? I'm 60. How would you learn to sound like a 30-something? Is my... you don't. You just don't. Your voice sounds like your voice. And just like, I've got gray hair now instead of the black hair that I used to have. I could dye it, but it's still gray hair under there. It's still not really going to look like regular hair. Things happen to you, just like you get more wrinkles in your face. Uh, there's a difference in how your voice sounds. So if you're 60, you're not gonna play 20. You might be able to get away with 40, but that 20 and 30 something thing is gone. So you'll be looking for parts that are closer to your age. Any general recommendations for a really old fart just starting out? Um, you know, uh, in many ways, this is a good business for someone who, say, has retired and they want to do something and they're able to connect with people's minds and hearts through their voice. You don't have to necessarily look at high profile voiceover, and because what I call the not so high profile voiceover, the only difference is you don't hear it and see it on the radio and television. There's a whole huge market. My buddy Bill DeWeese, most of the work he does, we're not going to hear because it's narration of one kind or another. He does do some commercials, but he makes a very good living doing e-learning and corporate narration and that kind of thing. And there's a ton of that work out there. So it's kind of thing you could do at home, like studio here, and be just fine. So yeah, my recommendation would be get yourself a nice little setup. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Set up one of your rooms for recording. Take some classes. Get your demos. Get your website. Start promoting yourself. probably will end up doing a pay-to-play site and learn the tricks of the trade for the pay-to-play sites because there are some ways to beat them at their game in terms of getting work, not necessarily getting money. Let's see. Do you have any tips for memorizing scripts? No, because I don't memorize any scripts. Um, well, probably this question is because we were talking about mocap before. If you're going to do on-camera stuff, you really need to memorize those scripts, and it's just do it over and over and over again. And what I would recommend is don't just memorize your lines. Read everybody's lines. Read all the stage directions. You're going to pay a little more attention to your lines, but knowing all the other lines, having done a lot of theater. You're working on your lines at home and reading through the script, and then blocking and rehearsals when you're still on book. Pretty soon, you're just going to memorize it. So the truth of the matter is, it's just the amount of time you spend. There are some famous actors who have said that they read a script 200 times before they're ready for performance. And I guarantee if you do it that many times, it's going to be internalized. You'll know everybody's lines. Let's see. Do you ever go to E3 or other cons to network with game developers? I do go to E3. I generally don't pay. They'll let me in for free. I don't spend every day there because I'm usually also working. But I do go and say hello to folks. Less networking and more it's kind of networking by accident because I've been around a long time and you just run into people but in a way yes it is networking because people forget that they know you have friends that might be right for some perfect job and somebody asks you about it but you don't think of that friend for some reason and then you happen to run in, oh, wow, somebody was just talking to me about, yeah, you'd be perfect for that thing. So you do want to remind people that you're there, which is, one of the things I do with, my Dave Fennoy cups to go to. I can't tell you how many clients uh, have been working on a project and they said, man, your cup was sitting on my desk and it made me think of you. And I just remembered, wow, you'd be perfect for this. People don't always have you top of mind, and which is why you have to advertise, which you have to remind them that you're there. Let's see. Uh, no, don't dye your hair. Don't worry, Michael, I won't. Hi, Dave. For young actors, what's a good habit to have to learn to improve our acting over the years? Observe people is, I think, probably the best thing you can is really observe who we are as human beings and how we react. And when I say that, I mean yourself as well. Your very favorite actors always seem like they're just playing themselves. It's because they're allowing the character to come through their instrument and the way they move and walk and talk. But by having observed people, they can change that up. They can change their gait. They can change a little bit about the way they speak. So that they can still allow that character to come through them. Um, so observation and practice, practice, practice. Curtis Rob. Oh, some of you are just watching with no with no questions. Why does that pop up like that? Here we go. Have you done film and TV roles on camera stuff? Of course, not much. I came to LA to be a voice actor. The interactive VO strike. What are the terms? Are you happy? What is the future like? Uh, yeah, the interactive strike is over. It was the longest strike that SAG-AFTRA has had. We did not get everything we wanted, but we did get a promise of a raise for the next 3 years. Um, they have not made a total agreement for voice safety, but they have promised to look out for us. And most of the time, it's the directors who look out for us. And another thing, they are letting us know what projects we're auditioning for now. And that's very important because there are AAA games and other games and small independent games. And some games that have a lot of money to pay and some games that don't. Much like your blockbuster films and your low budget films. There's a different pay scale for them. Well, if your agent didn't know what the game was that you were working on because it's being worked on under another name and they're not telling, they don't know how to negotiate for you. Well, we got that, and that's a biggie. So, um, because we got the big 11 to sign the agreement, and many other smaller companies have signed the agreement, we are in a position where we can improve that agreement, where we have negotiations. And once again, um, the country over the last 40 years has turned away from unions because for some reason we bought into the BS that, hey, if we're just really nice to those people with the corporations, they'll take care of us. Well, they won't. They've had a 500% raise. The rest of us, not so much. Unions are important. All right. Uh, what are some of the most common accents being used in video games? Well, they're everywhere. Of course, American accent, English accents, island accents, African accents, Middle Eastern accents, Eastern European accents, South American accents, Asian accents. I mean, they're from everywhere. I have done a game where the accent was um, from New Zealand and a native New Zealander, not the European New Zealanders. So you get all kinds of accents, and some that I have readily that I do, and some that because they like my acting and worked with me before, I got the part, even though they knew I didn't do that particular, that New Zealand Islander accent, and allowed me the time to learn how to do it. So, if you've got accents, great. If you don't and you want them, practice. All right. Uh, I know you record with eyeball. How do you combat that? The extra low frequency. My recordings come out somewhat muddy. Hmm. Be careful of where the front of the microphone is placed. Sometimes one time I put it in and it was kind of backwards because I was in a hurry, and that's when I got that muddy sound. And I kept, wow, I don't have the problem with the muddy sound. I'd be careful with that. I'm not sure I could tell you what you should do differently because I don't get the extra low frequencies, Carl. Um, but I'm going to look into that. I'm going to look into that. Let's see. Okay. Hey, Molly. Hey, Shannon. How often do you hear of 50-something age people breaking into the business? Um, Fairly often. Um, One of the things, this is not like being a sports star. Your career isn't over at 30 or 35. You have an opportunity uh, to work because there's a whole population of 50 and 60-year-old people, or let's say 40, 50, and 60-year-old people that want to hear from somebody that seems as old and wise as they are. So, once again, uh, one of the good things about our society that wants to hear from people that remind us of us, a lot of different demographics. So, if you're black, if you're Latin, if you're gay, if you're old, if you're young, if you're, insert whatever group here, there's a constituency for you. There's somebody that relates to who you are. So, uh, if you're 50, that should not be a barrier. Okay, Bob Gore. Bam, thanks. Uh, Andrew, will you have an appearance or flashback to Telltale Games Walking Dead as Lee? Okay, that's a good question. When I find out, I won't tell you because they wouldn't let me, of course. Uh, Pam Mad. So not an old fart. Haha, lol. Okay. Josh, when it comes to EQing out standing waves, how do you go about finding which waves those are personally? Also, what kind of vocal chain do you put on your auditions? I don't do a lot of EQing. Um, I pretty much found the sweet spot on my channel strip for myself, and I leave it there. I don't mess around with it. I think a lot of times we get caught up in the idea that, oh gosh, if I have the perfect microphone, and if I can EQ this commercial just this way and just enough compression and so forth, and your performance is going to be the most important thing. Uh, People will hear past um, not perfect sound. I don't want bad sound, but they will hear past um, a lot when your performance is right. Worry about that. Now, my chain, right now, I have my 416 set up. Let's see, last week I just bought a new microphone because I do that because I'm an idiot. Um, an SE, what was it? SE, 4400A, which is a knockoff of the legendary AKG C414. And it works pretty well. Works pretty well. But right now, my 416 is hanging. Usually it's the 416 or the 103. Those are my two favorite mics. Um, but not because, oh, this one sounds better on this and this one sounds better. I'll be playing this mic, a little different. Um, Worry much more about, is your sound clean and is your performance good? You'll work. You will work. Morning, Dave. You must be in another part of the planet. Uh, yes, I am having a good run up to Christmas. Thank you. Must be overseas, actually. Have you ever been voice actors who have broken the business in their fit? Oh, we had that, Kevin. We had that question. Thank you for sharing with us. Oh, that's very kind of you to say. Can we get an update on the interactive VO strike terms, agreements, possible future issues? When I have it all in front of me, I will do that. I don't have it all in front of me. It was we won. We didn't win everything that we wanted, but we won, and we have a really good base for moving forward. We're kind of in the place 60s sitcom stars were in when they first got their first contract. All right. In your method of read three times, voice three times, then record, do you use the technique for a large job where you read the whole thing, or do you break it up into pieces and use your technique? I break it up into pieces when it's a big, long thing. Um, if it's, you know, a big job with lots of big paragraphs, yeah, I'll go paragraph by paragraph. Let me get this one down. Let me get this one down. And there's an addendum to that. It's to go ahead and record with the understanding that that first recording is not for you to submit or think about as, oh, this is a performance. You're really doing it to get the words in your mouth, um, see where the phrasing is going, and give you a chance to listen back to it and go, oh yeah, okay, that's not right. Oh, I need to hit that. So sometimes if you don't have time to do the 3 and 3 with everything, go ahead and do that recording, but understand that that's not the one you're going to submit. All right. Tell us more about beating the pay to play to get the job. Well, you got to get it in early, and you have to set yourself up on the play to pay site to be found. Often a client is looking for a particular kind of read, so you want to do little small demos of a variety of different kinds of read: hard sell, soft sell, emotional, caring, understanding. Hit all those things that clients might be looking for So when they're doing a search, you have these mini demos, and they'll find you that way. Do you do any post processing to your own auditions? Nope, I don't. I send them clean. Um, um, yes, I did. In case you lose your voice, is there insurance to cover what you need? That's a good question. I don't know. I'm sure, used to hear about Lloyd's of London insuring legs of dancers and voices. I've never looked into that. I just try to take care of my voice. Okay. Similar to the EQ question, where do you draw the line between sending good voice sample to letting the studio you send it to fix it after? I don't want to send a sample that they've got to fix. Um, Once I'm EQ'd well, uh, I set it, set it and forget it, as the commercial used to say. Um, so I typically don't send uh, anything that has been adjusted after the fact. Every now and then, I'll add some compression, say, to a video game that has big ups and downs, and I want to make sure that the lower parts are heard and the higher parts come down a little bit. But that would be it. All right, let's see. Hey, Greg Rizzo. Any heads up on new games you might know about or be working on that we can look forward to? Yes, of course there is. Of course. NDAs, LOL. Yeah. Interesting, Gabriel, that your question came right after that. Oh, yeah, because on Facebook you can see that. In the video games, it's a very secretive world. Video game developers come out of uh, developers of apps and programs, and they tend to be very secretive, and they don't want people to know because they don't want anybody to steal their ideas. So, very often, even to audition, you must submit an NDA promising not to talk about that game that you're working on. And they're very serious. They're very serious about those NDAs. People have lost jobs. So, a recommendation: don't talk about auditions that you're doing or jobs that you're doing unless you have permission. All right. Let's see. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Um, Trying to get work as an e-learning voice actor. How do I obtain this type of voice acting job? That might be an opportunity for you if you're trying to get into e-learning, is to do that Google search of producers of e-learning and then send them your e-learning demo. Direct them to your website where your e-learning demos are and your rates and samples of what you have done. All right. Just in the process of working with a coach and producer on a new animation demo, and was wondering how you suggest we approach the sequencing of the first few spots. Start with my strongest character or start with my signature voice, etc. Um, I like people to, I want to hear their voice. I want to hear what they sound like. One of the problems people run into with animation reels is often you do so many different kinds of voices that you don't know who you are. Yes, the dogs have been fed. That you don't know who you are. That the person listening, and they don't get a sense of you. Um, so I would lead with who I am, and I would keep coming back to that. You can do the other character voices in there. That's part of animation. But don't lose the sense of who you are. Okay. And let's see. Scroll. What's your advice for someone who wants to do this and has no idea where to start? I'd go online to all the free things. I've got a YouTube page. Like this will be up there later on. Bill DeWeese has a YouTube page. Lots of different teachers. Nancy Wolfson has a YouTube page. I could go down the list with lots of free information. And even if you've decided, I'm going to spend $10,000 on training next year, still go and get the free information. Absorb as much of that as you can. So when you do start paying money, it's not completely new to you. You've taken it in. You have a feel for what's being said. You don't have to, sometimes when you're taking in new information, your mind kind of goes, well, what? I don't understand. And you're missing things while your brain is commenting on all the new words and concepts and ideas that are coming in. Well, if you spend some time uh, taking some of that in for free, you're ahead of the game. All right. Let's see. Do you plan to do a webinar on various recording system setups for newbies, explaining you can plug your microphone into this or that? Wow. An explanation of some of the equipment that you use and what they do. I may do a little bit of that, but I'm gonna say right now I am not the expert. I have a very good setup. I know the equipment that I like. George Wyndham and some of the other folks who really are the experts at that. You know what? I'm going to bring George on. I'll bring George on. I'll get George to come on a Wednesday, and we'll talk about studios and equipment. That's what I'll do. And I'll let you know ahead of time when that's going to happen. It won't be till the new year because Christmas week is next week. I'm going to go visit my mom in Texas on Tuesday and will not be here until after the new year. So this will be the last free Wednesday webinar until after Christmas. By the way, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever it is you're celebrating. Wishing you all the best. And no, I'm not about to wrap this up just yet. Da-da-da-da. I have a commercial demo so far. I'm putting together a character demo reel. I'm trying to gather characters that are different from each other so that the reel can be submitted for animation. Okay, well that's a good idea. That's a good idea. You want different characters on a character reel, and don't get too far away from your voice. You still want them to be able to hear that essence of you come through. Um, and at the same time, you wanna find some some of what we expect are the stock characters, the stereotypical characters that we might find on an animation reel, and more. And a suggestion: I've noticed that a lot of people want to do animation, but they don't watch any animation. Animation's very different now than it used to be. Go to Cartoon Network and watch some of those cartoons. Look at the cartoons that are being produced now. They are very different than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. And you want to get an idea of what the market is doing now so that you can, give them that. You don't want them to listen to your tape. Well, this is so 15 years ago. All right. Any chance of you coming to Colorado for any of the Comic Cons, Denver, Colorado Springs? If they invite me, I'm happy to come. And I actually would love to come to Denver and do my uh, voice acting for video games workshop. So, hey, Colorado, hit me up. Hello, Adam, Kevin Lawrence. Take a look at. Okay, that's advice for Kevin Lawrence, and he can see that online. Um, wow, what's the biggest turning point in your early career and why? This is really not about me, but I'm gonna answer that because I think it'll help. Probably the biggest turning point for me was when I decided to take some classes. I had been a disc jockey, I'd been an actor. I knew how to do this. I had a beautiful voice, um, and having been in radio, I'd done hundreds of commercials. Come on in. It's 10% off. Here's the address. Here's the phone number. Blah 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 blah. But that's not what the voiceover market was looking for. Um, so when I started taking classes and being told that lay off the disc jockey thing. Stop over enunciating. Don't announce. Share. Don't sell. Talk to people. That was probably the biggest. Uh, that's when my career really started doing well. And I was in a class in San Francisco, Voice Tracks West, with Samantha Paris. I just did some things for her book. Um, and an agent, her agent from Los Angeles, came up and did a 2-day workshop, which I took. And at the end of the workshop, she said, "Well, you're very talented. If you'd ever like to come to Los Angeles, we'd love to represent you." I was a morning jock on a radio station at the time, so it was kind of like, well, thank you. Yeah, I'll look you up one day. 3 months later, station fired the whole staff, and what did I do with that card? So taking that class in more than one way was good for me. Learned a bunch, taking classes, learned a bunch, and it also gave me the opportunity to come to Los Angeles and build the career that I built. Yo, Donovan, what's up, man? Hey, Bryn, Rolanda. I need an agent, but I'm non-union. Where can I find agents in LA who accept non-union actors? If you're marvelous enough, they will take you with the idea that you're going to Taft Hartley on into the union. But you got to be marvelous enough. You got to be marvelous enough. Rolando Watts is watching. Roland. Oh, thank you, Teresa. Merry Christmas back to you. Thinking of holding an intro to VO workshop for my fellow college students. Any suggestions? Way to teach? Um, Tell them the truth. Tell them about the industry, what the opportunities are, what the various genres of voiceover are, and what it takes to do it, and then give them an opportunity to play around with some scripts and have some fun. Some of them will surprise you with their talent. Some of them will just get the bug. And you could always call me to come in and uh, marry everything. Thanks, Ro. No, no. Yeah, Donovan, good to see you too, man. Oh, boy, this thing. Hold on here. Let me see if we can here. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Michael. Uh, will do. Uh, Disney XD is extremely different. Robot Chicken, Squid. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's cartoons and how strange they have got to be. Any advice on picking an agent? By the way, I'm 65 and just starting out and having a blast. Well, see, you know, people in their 50s, 60s, 70s are younger than their parents were at the same age. I hope you understand what I mean by that. We tend to have younger sensibilities, and we're living longer. And this is one of those careers. Now, I'm not saying at 50, 60, you're going to have a career and uh, do all the cartoons, do all the video games, do all the anything. But there are opportunities out there for you. And if it's something that you really want to do, you can. Um, hey, Bara Abdullah from the Mideast. Salam alaikum, my brothers. Yeah. Um, Bara, when I've been to the Mideast as a guest of IGN Middle East at conventions over there, he is always the master of ceremonies and always the most wonderful guy. And I still consider him a great friend. And I love your posts. And good to see you're on there, man. Best to the wife. Hey, Harry. And Bharat, do you think a guy like me can be a VO? Yes, you can. You can. We've had this conversation. Uh, Happy holidays. Okay, okay. Recommended. Oh, I'm gonna read this one. Adam Durgeman can wholeheartedly recommend Dave as a tutor for your course. Did his course recently in London, and my mind is still buzzing. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That is high praise, and um, the best thing for somebody who teaches is to know their students are getting benefit and booking. And got a lot of students in London that are booking, and some from here. So yay! You've mentioned how some colleges have programs for video game design. Any colleges offering programs to develop voice actors? That's a good question. Um, haven't really looked into whether uh, the colleges, and it's usually not in the video. It wouldn't be in the video game program. It would be in their theatrical program. And some of them I know do touch on voiceover. Whether they're touching on voiceover for video games, I don't know. But of course, you didn't mention. Yeah, you did mention. Uh, a lot of theatrical programs are adding voiceover because so many people are interested in it now. Um, how good they are, I'm not sure. I haven't looked. But anyway, listen. It's 7 o'clock. It's about time to wrap this thing up. Once again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and share my thoughts and ideas and experience with you. It's fun for me. I get a great sense of satisfaction out of offering my 28 years of experience in voiceover. Oh, has it been that long? And let me wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah. I don't think Ramadan hits right now, does it? But if it does in the middle of this, well, Happy Ramadan. Um, and let's look forward to 2018 uh, being a better year than 2017 was. And may each of you find peace, joy, and love in your life. And I will see you next year. Oh, I should do some business, shouldn't I? Getting ready for our uh, webinar, Voice Acting for Video Games, going to be happening on the 22nd of January, 4 consecutive Mondays. You can go to Dave Fennoy, VO for Games Class.com if you'd like to sign up for that. And we'll be doing one more free voice acting for video games hour Tuesday, January 9th. So thanks again, and I appreciate it. Hey, Jerry Gale, you're late, man. You're late because I'm about to finish up. All the best. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.